800-239-WJOX. Tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. You can always be a part there. Want to hear your thoughts on Texas, maybe some teams that are high ceiling, low floor. Where do they fall for you? Florida, Missouri, LSU. I mean, it is kind of wild how we've just anointed LSU. I'm not saying they can't be good. I'm not saying they won't be good. But I haven't even heard anybody ask real questions about LSU. Legit just say, you know what, it might not be great year one.
Without the hype, they feel like Texas last year. Just going in, there was like that expectation of, oh yeah, like they're going to be good. They're going to be dumb. Look at everything they've got. They feel like Texas, again, with taking out the arch hype, they feel like the Longhorns going into last year. Everyone just
Yeah.
expected great things out of them.
I think that's a fair comp. I mean, because Arch was going to be big time. It was going to work. They were going to make a push in the playoffs. Like any real concerns you had, it was like swipe left, not worried about it. On to the next one. And you weren't even allowed to pick the team apart in the preseason. I almost feel like we're there with LSU right now. Like we're not even allowed to sit there and say, okay, your rebuilt offensive line is just going to work just automatically. Okay, your quarterback that's not healthy right now and has been dinged up for a lot of his college career. That's just we're just in there. Okay. Harlem Berry, Caden Durham haven't been great. Showed some flashes. That's just all of a sudden good. Okay, got it. Yeah, good. All these new receivers, which that probably should be the least of their concern because Lane's made that work just about everywhere. So as long as they have a little bit of ability, I think that part's going to be okay.
And maybe same with quarterback, because okay, yeah, he had Austin Simmons got hurt and then seemingly had a better QB.
And you've got Whit Weeks on defense. If he's healthy, he's a difference maker. The Princewell Uman Mielen, he's fine. He's solid. Like I wouldn't even put him like a Kyle Kennard from a couple years ago at South Carolina. Like he's okay. God, I can't remember his name. He's the Notre Dame transfer they had 2 years ago, who was like a solid player, did some good things. Except I think that kid was a little bit more of a try hard guy than he is. He'll get some things done for you, but like he's not taking over games. That's not a bad thing that you have him, but it's like let's not treat him like, you know, all of a sudden no one can block him in this league. I wouldn't put him there. So Savion Jones is who I was referencing. Like he gives us Savion Jones. It's fine, no big deal. But I'm not, nobody should be wetting their bed over him. You go get T.J. Daugherty from Ole Miss. You have Don McKinley inside who had a nice year last year, but you still have D tackle depth issues in my opinion. You get Malik Blockton, you got some recruits coming in that might be great, but I think depth is still going to be an issue for that defense. And by the way, you lose your best football player on defense at A.J. Halsey, who, well, Mansour Delane was your most talented player. A.J. Halsey was your best football player, and both those guys are gone. So the aggressive nature of it, the style of the defense, with how Blake calls it, will help him a ton. But man, John, that's a lot of yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yeah, but this, but oh yeah, that. That just is, we're assuming automatically is going to work for this team to go win 10, 11, 12 games.
And I think in years past for LSU, for a good number of teams, you mentioned depth earlier, it felt like if it didn't at least come through, it was close enough that okay, yeah, that's fine. Like we'll take it. It's not unlike okay, well, Alabama's losing a lot on defense. Yeah, well, we know what they've got. Like they're going to be okay, if not better. And now because that depth is, if not gone, at least somewhere else, and we've seen, especially recent history, we had these high expectations going into last year for Clemson, Penn State, LSU, even Texas, really. Now, granted, Texas didn't fall off like those other teams did, but all of a sudden, a team that seemingly has everything together, not unlike Florida State from a couple of years ago, to just fall off the face of the earth. We've seen it happen more than it really should have over the past few years, and we don't want to get hurt or burned again. So it's like, all right, we're more than willing to be like, we're not going to say nothing. We're just going to wait and see because How many of us were so high on a team with post-COVID that you expect, oh yeah, they're going to go out and do this, and then all of a sudden, oh, they've fired their coach and they've moved on, and oh my, oh, okay, all right. Or maybe not even a whole team, just a player or two.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this guy's going to bring it. Oh, absolutely. And there's excrement in your bed. Oh, because you just yeah.
Damien, are the questions fair, or are you more, nah, swipe left? Who cares? It's Lane, it's Sam Levitt, it's talent. They'll be fine.
No, I think there's still a few question marks because even with Lane's success, just strictly at Ole Miss, he never got to the SEC championship with Ole Miss. He won a bunch of games, but even there were some moments where he could have gone in with the better team, the more talented team, and still found ways to lose. Like you think of Kentucky a couple of seasons ago, they lost that game early, but then they found a way to overcorrect and beat Georgia, but then they lost to LSU late in the season as well. And even this past season, when he was at Ole Miss, they didn't go on the road and handle their business against Georgia in Athens. Still found a way to get into the college football playoff with Pete Golden. So there are moments that we will sit here and say, yep, their offense is going to be clicking, and they're going to be clicking at a high clip. But also, there are moments where we're going to sit back and have question marks after a game of how did LSU fumble this one away when they had their opportunities with a better squad. So I still think there are some reservations of how it's supposed to work, but on paper, it's supposed to work. But we know that Lane at times will find a way to mess it up.
Yeah, it's just maybe his track record should take us to that place, because I mean, here's a fair question for Lane. When was the last time we talk about this with his quarterbacks, right? How he hasn't really had a quarterback that failed. And we can go to FAU, we can go to coordinators at different spots. Do we have to go back to maybe being the head coach at Tennessee to the last time he did not exceed expectations? I mean, you could say Bama in the playoffs, of course, but that was a different deal.
Yeah, but as a head coach, yeah.
Or coordinator.
Yeah.
I'm just referencing like
I feel like maybe a game or two, Mr. Get your popcorn, and kind of fell flat then. Like that's the one.
Yeah, that Ole Miss game didn't quite work out that way, but yeah. Individual games.
But that whole season, I mean, still
not being available for your team in the national title game. That's a little bit.
Maybe right. Yeah.
But collectively going into a season,
right?
You may have to go back to being the head coach at Tennessee or probably USC, because he left Tennessee for USC and then got fired on the tarmac. You'd have to go back to those years when he did not exceed expectations. And it's wild to think about that. Like maybe he has moved past the doubt and the question marks because of what he's done. We didn't think the whole transfer portal king thing would work. We're like, this is a joke. Like, these guys are going to hate each other. Nobody's going to like anybody in there. And he kind of finagled it in a way that it worked a little bit. The recruiting stuff on social media, it was silly. It was dumb. Well, it worked. He got the kids. Like, they got there. They didn't have the money to do it. Him and his people went and found the money. And they got it going. So maybe is he as far ahead of anybody else? Not named, Saban, Kirby, Day. I'll even include Dabo there still. That deserves to be able to just be pushed past some of the hurdles because of what he's done? Because he hadn't let us down a whole lot. Like, we haven't looked at him and said, yeah, that dude just doesn't. Think about the other guys that we talked about, like a James Franklin. We can't win a big one.
Yeah.
We did it with Ryan. We were going to fire Ryan Day. They wanted him out. And he won a title. How many coaches we look at and we're like, yeah, but he can't do this. Yeah, but he's, never did that. Never done it. Can't. Not that guy. But Lane keeps doing it. He just keeps doing it. So maybe he deserves to be pushed past some of these obstacles and say, no, he'll get it done. Don't worry about it.
But it's just, I don't know. Like, because it's almost like year to year, it's an identity conversation with Lane. Because you go back to the Matt Corral years, the offense was no problem. Like, they could go out there, roll the ball on accident, and score 40. But then their defense would give up 50. And then when the defense finally got together,
Also couldn't get players out of the portal then.
True. And then fast forward that to, finally the defense is getting together, and now the offense is starting to take a little bit of a dip or a little bit of some inconsistencies there. So it's almost a year-to-year basis for Lane Kiffin, because when he's hot, he's hot. Not even year-to-year, it's game-to-game. When the offense is clicking, sometimes defense, I don't know. Like, it's just, I think Lane Kiffin is a great coach, but the one thing that he's still, or the multiple things that he's still chasing, I don't know if he'll ever just finally get. I mean, there's a lot of things that just have to go right. Like, again, he's never been the SEC championship, but he's won a bunch of games there at Ole Miss. And LSU, we expect you to be in the conference championship and the national championship discussion. He's always been in the room, but he hadn't got a chance to eat. Like, that's kind of how it is. It's, we'll welcome you in, but, did you bring money? Because all this is paid for on this side with the Ryan Days. And like, we got the championships, we got the conference and national titles and things, but you can look, but you can't touch.
Yeah. And it got me thinking when you were talking about individual games. I mean, you go back, that Alabama game that John mentioned, that's one that people will remember. The Florida game down in the swamp, that's one that people will remember. Now, they're playing into exactly what you said. The offense didn't go, therefore not in game. But think about a couple of the others. We've seen a few in recent memory where it was a little bit like some of these matchups with Georgia in recent memory. There was the one with Alabama that was kind of toe-to-toe. I think it was his second year at Ole Miss, where they had the ball late and just ran out of time. That was a little bit more scoring than actual defense stepping up making plays. But he's gotten to where it doesn't have to be that style game anymore. I said it for a long time. If there's something that you need to question with Lane Kiffin, I say a long time, like this offseason since he took this job. If there's something you need to question about Lane Kiffin now, as opposed to Lane Kiffin the last 2 years in Oxford, it's no Pete Golding.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And that's because I sat at the table with Lane Kiffin when he explained to us how important Pete Golding was to him in becoming a better head coach and being able to see the whole picture and being able to understand all of it and not necessarily going out there and doing what you just said, Damian, trying to play arena ball and think you can win games that way. Like you can't go out there, and play piffle football, professional indoor football league. For y'all that don't know about it, you'll learn about it in Bad Box Score of the Day here in a couple months. You can't do that and consistently win games. You're going to get got.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete Golding was the one that came in and said, hey, man, why are we getting 22 wide receivers? Like, we need some DBs. And by the way, why do we have all these micro machines at DB? Like, I need some length. Where are your pass rushers? Why are you not getting edge guys? And all of a sudden, Lane was like, well, then go get them. Like, that's not my thing.
That's not my thing.
Like, y'all go get them. Here's what you can spend. Go find them. Good luck. And they found them, and they got them. Now, Pete had a lot of the relationships and was able to go get them. That would be – now, and all that being said, it could be a very similar match with what he now has in LSU and Blake Baker, because he will leave Blake Baker alone. And Blake Baker has just enough FU in him to get on the headset and be like, hey, man, we don't need to go for this fourth down here. My defense is gassed. We're up 8. What are you doing? And Lane would say, you know what, he's right. Send out the punt team. Like, Blake's got that in him. Blake has those tangibles. Blake has just enough inability to care at certain times. I mean that as a compliment, by the way, of being able to say, dude, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we need right now. Hand the ball off 4 times. If you lose yards every time, who cares? We're good. We need to win the game. We don't need another passing touchdown. And he can do that. So I will say, if there were a trade-off out of the small handful of guys that I would say this will work in a similar fashion to, Blake Baker would be one of those guys. Now, it's a little bit more of an aggressive deal. So we kind of go back to the situation with Levy that we're talking about, bringing in hyper-aggressive D coordinator as well and trying to go full Tasmanian devil all the time. And will that work? Like, even the Tasmanian devil ran out of gas, right? Didn't he have to sit down and take breaks every now and then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
He
was all huffing and puffing, so he can only eat so many boulders and signs and whatnot, like trees. So at some point in time, you got to sit down. And I think Pete Golding was the one that helped Lane truly understand that, how to coach a football team and game and not coach an offense. But I'm looking at the seasons here, man, and I'm just like, you go back, like, forget the USC stuff, right? FAU 11-3. Maybe it's 2018 FAU going 5-7. I'd have to dive into that year and see what happened. But then he's 10-3 the next year. 5-5 at Ole Miss. I wouldn't say it's a letdown because he probably didn't have a ton to work with. 10-3, 8-5, 11-2, 10-3, 11-1. So I'll ask it again. Like, do we have to go back to 2013 USC to truly say the last time Lane Kiffin like let us down versus expectations? By the way, the 8-5 year at Ole Miss, he was tied for third in the West. That was 2022. There are a couple other teams in the West that were rolling around then, by the way. Lost in the Texas Bowl. That was that one to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you were 8-4 in the regular season, tied for third in the West. A West, and when Nick Saban was still kicking, that ain't a bad deal. Now, I'll be willing to bet a lot of people in Oxford weren't like, yeah, get rid of this guy. Never saw this coming. So there are a lot of parts of this that maybe it's okay to say, hey, he'll get it figured out. We're going to be okay. So is Auburn going to be okay as it pertains to the tournament? We don't know that now. We will ask Joe Lenardi next, right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys being with us. We're going right to the Higginbotham hotline. Going to welcome in Joe Lenardi. You know his bracketology almost every day during college basketball season. See his work at ESPN. Joe, thank you for joining us. After last night, where are the Auburn Tigers for you as it pertains to the NCAA tournament?
Boy, nothing right going to the hardest question on the
Right
board.
into it.
That's
Not
why
wasting
you
any
guys
time
make
here.
the big money. I have Auburn 41st on the seed list right now. Just finished my overnight numbers, so that would make them an 11 seed, and actually the team just above the 4 slotted for Dayton and the first 4. So maybe not as damaging as some of the folks around Auburn thought, mostly because it was still a quad 1/quad 2 game, and it was on the road.
How much does that schedule, be it wins or losses, whatever's happened, but just the schedule they've played, helping Stephen Pearl's team right now?
It's a life preserver. It's the way I would describe it, and but it's not permanent. It's one of those inflatable life preservers that's leaking air, and eventually you can lose too many games, no matter how good your schedule is. I think they're now 2 games over 500, 15 and 13, if I'm not mistaken, and they're not going to want to get closer than that. There's never been an at-large team that was only 1 game over 500. So they've got to find a way before the SEC tournament to, bump that number up 1 or 2.
How do you view them this year overall, Joe? This is not necessarily bracketology perspective, but how do you view their team? You watch a lot of basketball. You talk to coaches. You see teams. You have to sort of evaluate and grade teams. What is this? If I asked you, give me a definition of Auburn basketball this year, what would your definition be?
Transitioning, inconsistent, but still dangerous on a given night, right? They're not a team that's going to get on a roll and win 3 or 4 NCAA tournament games in a row, because they haven't really shown the ability to put it together for, a 2 or 3 week period all season long. And that means they could be the kind of 10 or 11 that beats a 6 or a 7 early on and wins around if they get in. But I'm certainly not booking travel for the weekend after that.
Obviously not. No, I don't think so. Is the Bediako situation over for Alabama? There's 2 parts of this. One, as far as what else he potentially could do legally, and then 2, from, say, the committee's or NCAA standpoint of how it may affect Alabama come tournament time.
Yeah, I think this was close to a non-story at the start, at least with respect to seeding, and it's even less of a story now, guys. And here's why I say that. First of all, they were 3-2 with them, right? They were favored in 3 of the games and not favored in the other 2. So they did almost certainly what they would have done without him, plus or minus a game at most. And, beyond that, you can make an argument they've been better since he left again, right? They've won a couple of road games. They're up to a 4 seed. We're not talking peak Shaquille O'Neal here. Like he's a piece, a nice piece, but he's not going to win or lose you a national championship. I actually feel badly for the 3 teams that they beat with them, Auburn being one of them, which, you could make a case, and there was some discussion of that a week ago in the committee room. A bunch of media types, we did a mock selection exercise at the NCAA, and we spent more time talking about the teams, the second degree impact on the teams Alabama played more than Alabama itself.
Absolutely. Joe Lenardi joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking bracketology. How much have things shifted for Duke in the last, I guess, 4 days? If you'd have asked me on Friday, Joe, I would have said Michigan, #1 team in the nation, not really debatable. I realize there are 2 or 3, Arizona, Duke included there, that would be on a very small step down tier 2, but I kind of had Michigan on a different pedestal. I almost feel like Duke's not just because they beat them, but then because they did again last night, has sort of knocked Michigan off that pedestal and taken it for themselves.
I don't think they knocked Michigan off the pedestal. I think they just joined them there. I think if they played best of 7 on a neutral court, it would probably go 7.
Yeah.
They look pretty evenly matched to me. I think what's important from a bracketing perspective is simply because, and I wrote this yesterday, simply because Duke has fewer opportunities to lose playing in the ACC, and that's no respect. I know they play Virginia still, and I know they play North Carolina still, but they're both at home. Not the same as going to Illinois, not the same as playing Michigan State, and not the same number of challenges as Michigan will face in the Big Ten tournament, or for that matter, Arizona in the Big 12 tournament. Duke's path to the #1 overall seed is now theirs to control, thanks to this win, and I fully expect them to do that. And whether they're first overall, second overall, even third overall, they're going to start in Greenville, South Carolina, on the first Thursday, and then they're going to go to Washington, D.C. for the East Regional, almost certainly as the 1 seed in the East. And, now you can say that they fully earned it.
Absolutely. Joe Lenardi talking bracketology with us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I'm interested in the SEC top to bottom. How do you view the conference as far as how many get in as of today?
I think the first thing we have to do is put last year out of our mind, hard as that may be, because it was a perfect storm, right? Not only did they get 14 out of 16 in, which is almost mathematically impossible, given the fact that whenever there's an SEC game, someone has to lose the game, right? And there were down years in other leagues, particularly the ACC, to a lesser extent the Big East, that created extra available spots. So right now we're looking at 10 or 11 from the SEC, with Auburn probably being number 11, right on the bubble, and will probably be America's bubble team right up until 6 o'clock on Selection Sunday night. And 10 or a double-digit number of teams is massive. And are there 2 1s, 2 2s, a 3 and 2 4s like there were last year? No. Are there going to be 2 SEC teams in the Final Four? Probably not. Could an SEC team win the national championship? Florida is sure looking the part. And I was just writing about them when you called and saying that a win tonight at Texas will probably move the Gators up to the 2 line. I don't think they can go higher than that, but they don't really need to mount a worthy defense the way they're playing.
Joe Lenardi with us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I have one more question for you as it pertains to individual teams, and that is this Miami of Ohio team, who is just putting together a fascinating season. We've seen teams do great things in lower-level conferences, mostly getting into the tournament and then doing that work. I do feel like, Joe, they're getting a little more respect than some teams that have gone undefeated, maybe be a one-loss team, getting far into the season. But how could this one be different than maybe some of the other ones that we've seen in different years, just as far as maybe where they end up seating wise?
Well, I'll give you kind of both sides of it. Uh, Seeding began in 1979. If Miami wins its last three regular season games, they will be the seventh team to get to the regular season finish line undefeated. So let's just stipulate that it's really hard to do, no matter what level league you're in, right? Because in any league you play half your games on the road, and road teams in college basketball for a generation have won less than a third of the time. So what they're doing is remarkably great, whether they're the number one league in the country or number 31. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is the previous six teams to do it were all number one seeds in the NCAA tournament. And that includes, teams from the powerhouse Kentucky, all the way down to your Wichita States and your St. Joseph's. And Miami is not in that group, obviously, but they're also not the 11 or 12 seed that most people are placing them at. My own view is I think they are going to run the table, and I think they will be in an 8-9 game. I think that is the ultimate landing spot for them. And I'll say that even if they should lose in the Mid-American Final on Selection Saturday night, that's a kind of a late game. It's like 8 or 8:30, I think. I think their seed will be pretty well baked at that point, and I think if they get to that conference tournament with a big fat 0 in the loss column, they're going to have a single-digit seed.
Wow, it's crazy to think about. What if you were to comp them with other teams in the field right now? Kind of what other teams do you sort of put them on their level as far as maybe what they're capable of doing or who you think they really are?
Well, until last night, I would have said I don't think they're as good as St. Louis or Utah State, probably the two quote-unquote best mid-majors in the field. It's still hard for me to call Atlantic 10 or Mountain West schools mid-majors because historically those are multi-bid leagues. But I mean, if Miami of Ohio played a best of 7 against Auburn, they would win in 6. They athletically have a difficult time, particularly in the front court at times, but the guard plays better and they just score more easily. I mean, you're talking about a team that's averaging over 90 points a game. Like most teams in America can't score 90 points in an empty gym because it takes a lot of skill, and they're very skilled offensively.
Absolutely. Joe, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. We really appreciate the time. I love catching up with you and get your insight as to how this thing looks like it's going to play out. We'll do it again before the tournament. Thank you.
You got it.
Joe Lenardi joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking a little bracketology. There you go. He said Auburn in 41 is where we would have them ranked, just missing Dayton, if I had that correct. We'll pull that audio again, have it for you on the other side so you can hear it one more time, what Joe Lenardi said about the Auburn Tigers, and more on that discussion right after this on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Dean Blandino coming up in just a few minutes. Got to tell you guys about Game Day Men's Health first and foremost. You know what Game Day Men's Health can do for you. If you're lacking energy, lacking sleep, feeling on edge, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. You need to drop some weight that maybe you put on during the holidays. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today and see what they can do for you. You've helped a lot of Jocks listeners. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. It's a free consultation, free PSA test, free testosterone test, and they can help you get back to feeling your best at Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. When you do that, you'll get that free PSA test. You get the free PSR test. They're going to give you your baseline health and then present the options that they have to be able to help you right there at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. A lot of listeners have helped. A lot of listeners have gotten better. A lot of listeners are feeling like their best selves after the new year. Save 10% on any service they offer by mentioning Mac and Cube when you walk in the front door. Holistic approach to health and wellness, locker room environment, minimal upfront costs for the programs they offer. Book your consultation for free at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Dean Blandino joins us next right here on Jocks.
.842 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saber here with you. Cole had to step away for a second, but we do have Dean Blandino on the phone lines with us. I'll put it like this, any professional football being played, if there's anybody that breaks down the rules better than, I don't know anybody that can break down the rules better than what Dean Blandino does, and we can see him on Fox, and we know what he does for the NFL and also the UFL here with our Birmingham Stallions. But, Dean, this season, the UFL has introduced some new rules going into the 2026 season. Could you kind of give us a breakdown on what the UFL was thinking as far as just how we're going to implement some of these things and just kind of give a layout of what to expect in the 2026 season?
We're excited about the new rules. We kind of took a look at, okay, what do we want for our fans? What do we want our game to look like? We want it to have a good pace, not a lot of stops and starts. We wanted to promote scoring, big plays, exciting plays, action plays. So a couple of big changes. No punts inside the 50. So it seems like a big change on the surface. You look at how the game has evolved. Last year in the NFL, fewest punts per game in modern history, most fourth down, go for it plays. So we want to promote that. So instead of seeing a punt from inside the 50 that usually is going to end up in a touchback or a fair catch, you got to go for it. It's not going to apply inside 2, but outside 2 minutes, once you cross the 50, you got to either go for it or you can attempt a field goal from 60 yards or better, and that's going to be worth 4 points. So again, we feel like this is going to add strategy to the game. It's going to add another layer for our fans to kind of discuss. Should they go for the 3-point field goal? Should they move it back and go for 4? Can't punt, got to go for it on fourth down. So we're excited about those major changes, and we think it's going to make the game more exciting.
Is there anyone on planet Earth more excited than you that the tush push is now banned from the UFL?
Yeah, I mean, look, this play is, I mean, I've been on record as to my personal feelings about it, but look, it's been a lightning rod. A lot of discussion about the play. I think we looked at the issues with the play, and one of the things, look, there's a safety component to it. There's an officiating element where it is difficult to officiate, but ultimately we just felt it's not a fair play when you talk about offensive and defensive balance, right? If the running back gets tackled or stood up at the line of scrimmage and driven back 10 yards, they're not going to lose 10 yards. They're going to get their forward progress. Why does the offense get that benefit? Runner is stacked up, and now we're going to push. You get 3, 4, 5 offensive teammates pushing that player downfield. So we're going to ask our officials to kill that play. We're not going to allow the tush-push formation in terms of pushing the quarterback into the line of scrimmage. And we think that's a good change for the game, and I think it's something the NFL will continue to discuss.
Yeah, and speaking of the relationship with the NFL and the UFL, because we've seen players make the jump from the UFL to the NFL and have success, kind of looking at the officiating side of things, because the UFL, we have access when people, there's certain challenges on the field, and also just the, I guess you'd say, the openness that we have when we go under the replay booth. Because for you, like you do a great job of kind of explaining what officials are looking at as far as certain plays that happen. Is it a catch, non-catch? Do we have a penalty here? And things like that, spot of the ball. Will we see some of that start to trickle into the NFL side of things?
Well, there's no question that that's been a big part of what we've done in the UFL, that transparency. Like you said, like you can hear, listen, see the process, and we feel like that gives our fans a better understanding, and there's less angst about officiating, because at least you might not always agree, but at least you understand the why. And I think that's something the NFL can do a better job of, is just kind of peeling the curtain back a little bit and letting people hear and see what actually goes on, because these are just people like everybody else that are working through a process, trying to get it right. And I think when fans can understand that process better, I think they have a greater appreciation for what officials do and what replay officials do. So I think that's something the NFL will look at. We're seeing it in college. The ACC did it last year. Other conferences are looking at doing it, giving their fans a better perspective of what goes on with officiating. I think the NFL will continue to look at it and hopefully incorporate some of that.
Assuming it's coming back for this season, I think it was a hit last season. What went about the creation and the implementation of the Super Challenge in the league?
Yeah, it is coming back, and that we felt like, look, we have this technology, we have the ability to review plays. Let's try to capture as many situations as we can to where it's not officiating that is ultimately deciding the game, or we're talking about a call. We want to make sure we have an opportunity to correct mistakes, and there aren't a lot of them during the game, but there are. The game is fast. Officials get one look at it from their perspective, and then we have an opportunity to review it on film. And that's what we want to do. So, yeah, the Super Challenge will be back. We tweaked it a little bit. It's now back to 1. Last year, we gave the coaches a second one if they won the first. We just feel like this should be a really premium, use only in case of emergency. But coaches will still be able to challenge things like offensive holding or defensive pass interference when they feel like either a flag is thrown that shouldn't have been, or the officials don't throw a flag and the coach thinks it should have been a foul. So they're going to be able to challenge that both ways.
Here with Dean Blandino, rule analyst there on Fox. You can catch his work on Fox Sports, of course, with the NFL, now the UFL. And now taking a step back and looking at the entire league, we have new teams that are, I guess you say, relocated. We have Columbus, we've got Louisville, we got Orlando. Just taking a look at the UFL as a whole, what's your expectation or kind of the goal for the league in this 2026 season in the future?
I think one of the big goals is to really establish the league in the local markets, right? You mentioned the new markets, the new cities, and even our returning cities like Birmingham. We want to be in that city. We want to engage with our local fans and really build that engagement and build that camaraderie to where this isn't. We know we're over in the DFW area in terms of the teams living and practicing, but we really want to be a presence in our cities, St. Louis and Houston and Orlando and DC, and really just kind of create that community amongst our fans and really get people to come to the games. And it's going to be an incredible experience, and we want to get people out there.
How does someone become an NFL or even a UFL official? Like, is there like training camp? Is there like, I'm sure there's some forms and all this stuff to figure out, but how does someone go through the process to actually become an official in either league?
Yeah, well, so for the UFL, similar to the NFL, these are college officials. Most college officials start at the lower levels, whether it's Pee Wee football, youth football, high school, and then they make their way through the college ranks. And so all of our officials in the UFL are actually part of an NFL development program. The NFL has regional scouts all over the country looking at officials from the different conferences. So our officiating group is mainly made up of those development officials that the NFL is looking at, and we want to give them additional reps, additional opportunities. So just like the players, the coaches, the officials can make that jump to the NFL if that's ultimately their goal. So we pull from that group, and these are all Division I football officials from the different conferences. And hopefully we'll see some of those officials that are working in the UFL this spring making the jump to the fall in the NFL.
All right, final question for me, Dean. I want you to give us some hope here in the city of Birmingham. We know our Stallions. Yeah. We're three-time spring league champions. We fell short last season. But again, I know that you work directly, with the league, but so you can't officially say that we're going to win the championship. But what are kind of your expectations year one under AJ McCarron for the hometown team here in Birmingham?
Well, yeah, I think it's exciting. Like you said, Birmingham was a dynasty, and they won 3 straight championships last year. A little fell short, but I think with AJ coming in and he's going from playing the last couple of years to now putting the headset on and being on the sideline and coaching everybody up. I think it's going to be great. Look, the teams are it's a lot different. A lot of the rosters are going to be different. You're going to see some of the players you saw last year, but there's going to be a lot of new faces, trying again that local flavor and trying to get players with connections to the area. I think they're going to be a strong contender, and I'm excited. I'm excited about what they can do this year.
And finally, Dean, when you're watching a game, not for Fox, you're actually watching a game, is it difficult to switch off that rules analyst? Can you watch the game as an actual fan, or are you like some people say, oh, just watch it for the referees? Are you actually watching the referees and viewing the game that way?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, I am able to shut it off. I mean, sometimes, you just watch the game a certain way for so long, it's hard to turn that off. But I am able to do it. The problem is that everybody I know knows what I do, and so they're always texting me questions when the game is going on. So the Super Bowl is happening, and my phone is blowing up anytime there's a flag or anything like that. So sometimes it's difficult, but I try to shut it off and watch the games as a fan when I'm not working.
Man, Dean, we appreciate you hopping on with us. I know it was a little bit of a switch up there. I know you're expecting to hear the voice of one Cole Cubelic, but we appreciate you hopping in with us this morning, man.
No, you guys are great catching up.
All right, you have a good one, man. That's Dean Blandino, rules analyst. I guess you'd say the president of officiating there in the UFL there for Fox Sports on the Higginbotham Hotline.
Let's be honest. If Cole were here, he wouldn't have asked about the kicking in the field goal. So at least we were able to get that.
Not at all. We appreciate Dean Blandino hopping on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. But no, and again, listen, we're biased here in the city of Birmingham because we we are the hub for the Birmingham Stallions. And last season didn't go necessarily the way that we wanted to. But again, Dean, I think he hit the nail on the head. It's the excitement and the expectation, because we are stamped right here in the middle between Auburn and Alabama when it comes to football. But we all come together for the Birmingham Stallions, and we were spoiled.
Absolutely.
We were spoiled for 3 years. We kind of got the macho, like, hey man, anything, we bleed Stallions red. But I do think that this season and what the UFL is starting to look like going into the new year is going to be different here for us. We got AJ McCarron, we got Tyler Siskey, we got a bunch of new guys there on the staff, but I still think the expectation is the championship's going to have to run through Birmingham.
No, absolutely. I mean, you can, if you're watching on YouTube, I mean, hear the schedule. Like, they gave us like these material. Like, we're all here and happy and excited for them. And I kind of feel for AJ, because he's stepping into that situation that, like, look, like it's not unlike his playing career. Like, we set a certain standard, and we've kind of come to expect certain things. And yeah, okay, last year may not have ended the way we wanted to, but like, you know what you need to do. You're stepping in. We kind of know what it is. So that first game, especially when it comes to protective, like I'm pretty sure the what's it called, the shirtless Stallions.
Of course, shirtless section, baby.
Shirtless section, which I know you'll probably be a part of. I mean, you and your homeboy Chris, I know, will absolutely enjoy that. But the Stallions, the UFL, this is something that, at least for me, it took me a little while to get them on. Like, it was okay, like, that's cool, that's fine. But also, having seen leagues come through here and be gone after a little bit, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wait until they kind of stick around to actually believe in it, and then they're still here. And you know what, like, I'm down. Like, this is my team. I'm rep for them. I don't have any gear. I'll make sure I'll get some. But having the Stallions, having a team like that here is something great and phenomenal, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Absolutely. And I like the way Dean kind of discussed the officiating side of things, of just the transparency that we do get on when we see replays and we have coaches' challenges and exactly what they're looking at. I think that's been kind of like I guess you say the unsung hero of, okay, we at least know what the officials are looking at, as far as, hey, now they're going to 1 foot possession for catches now. And also, like, again, like the anytime challenge rule for coaches, like, that's a game changer.
Absolutely.
That's
what
a
I
complete
love,
game changer.
and you brought it up with him, what I love is that the rules, or some rules that have happened in the UFL, have made its way to the NFL, and especially things that are working and doing well. Okay, I know it feels weird to have the kickoffs, the way they do, but for player safety, everything seems like it's working. I'm down with that, which is why I hope that the Super Challenge can make its way to the NFL. Part of me hopes that the way the ACC did their officiating, their command center, that can make its way to the SEC and the rest of college football. So the UFL is they're out here being trendsetters, and the NFL, to their credit, they see something working and look like it's going well, they'll establish it, and I like it.
I'm here for it as well. We got another hour to go on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Keep it locked right here on Jocks.